Hey everybody. Um, if you don't know me, I'm Dylan. I go by Outhouse Cartoons on most of the things. And I'm also the creator of a punk urban fantasy action adventure graphic novel trilogy called Combat Fairies. And the final installment of that trilogy is coming to Kickstarter on July 30th. And if you hit the link in the descriptions, then you can uh, follow the pre-launch page and get noticed as soon as things go live. And you can get the book, digital or physical. You can get prints. You can get commissions. You can get coloring books and behind-the-scenes stuff, and you can even get some one-on-one drawing lessons if you're interested. And that's what we're doing here today. I'm going to draw Brietta, one of our 5 fairy characters. So let's do it, shall we? So we always want to get our basic figure structure in there first. And I'm pretty much winging the pose here, which is kind of what I'm doing for all of these tutorials. But it's never a terrible idea to look at some reference. Put the line of action in here. Brietta is kind of the sweetest of the fairies, you could say. She's the one that is most likely to kind of look out for you, kind of watch your back. But she's also probably the toughest. Kind of the muscle, you would say. Hence the slightly more squared off jaw that most of her teammates have. Keep the one knee tucked up. They almost always have that. Although one of these, I'll have to make sure to not tuck the knee, just to show that it is possible. Foreshorten this arm here. The cube fist to start with. Beef up that shoulder a little bit. Actually, that hand could be a little bit bigger. There we go. Thinking maybe she's almost like blocking the sun out of her eyes or something with her arm up like that. And then her hair is going to go kind of wild over here. To look at, Brietta's hair might be my favorite of the fairies. To draw it, maybe my least favorite. Okay, we got our structure in there. I think this is going to make sense. I'm okay with this pose. So let's make this Brietta. Exaggerating the eyes is something I do a fair bit anyway, but I make extra sure usually that I'm doing it with the fairies compared to like the human characters that they meet. Brietta's actually got a nose stud there. Unless she's mid-fight or something, I usually try to give Brietta a pretty big toothy smile. And her ears poke up super straight, almost like Batman's ears. She's also the only fairy that doesn't have the hoop earrings. Instead, she's got almost like these gold beads or something that come off of her ears. Which in the one time that I animated the fairies, those were a pain also. And I did a lot of cheating to make it work. Alright. And we'll draw these dreadlocks. The dreaded dreadlocks. The bigger pain with the dreadlocks, more than anything, is actually coloring them, because she's got multicolored dreadlocks. Some of them are black and some of them are red. And so inking them is kind of slow because I got to do all the little texturing and stuff, which you're going to see in a little bit. But when you color them, I got to fill all those little details in. And I can't do just like a blanket fill because they're different colors. Okay, so that's a bit of a mess because it's so tangled. I'm going to define that a bit more when I ink it. So let's just keep working our way down here. Brietta was a human, these would be a very uncomfortable top, we could say. But she's not human. None of the fairies are, so. Pencils acting up a tiny bit. We got it working. We got it. We got it. She's got a looser belt. Well, maybe not looser so much, but it's not like big and heavy like the other fairies. Because really all it is to hold up her skirt. It's not carrying anything additional. So that's why we curve it around the shape of her. Wait a minute. Her hips. Like that. We'll define her knee, give her a proper knee. And then on this leg, she's got a strap of dynamite. I feel like there's some Looney Tunes influence a little bit on Brietta because she is supposed to be the kind of demolition expert of the team. And you definitely see her using like C4 and more legit kind of modern explosives and stuff in the comic book. But she's got dynamite strapped around her leg, and you'll sometimes see her drawn with a stick of dynamite in her hand or whatever. And that's just because of the fun cartooniness of it. Like that, and then she's got count them, 3 anklets. So I think I made her foot a little too small there. We'll fix that. There's 1. 2. And 3. And when you're drawing these round things, try to be quick and sketchy with them to get that nice curve. Slow down when you're inking it, but go a little quicker to get the there's her foot. Alright, let's and then she's also got this, there's probably a name for these. I think it was inspired by something I'd seen in a movie or something. But I just kind of winged it. You know, the fairies, I'm not too concerned with realism with any of the, or practicality even with some of the design choices for the fairies. Think it out a lot more for the human characters and some of the other characters, but I like them to feel kind of ridiculous in some ways. So I just winged it. But the metal bands around her arm there. Yeah, I consult my cheat sheet here for the ring. She's got one on her pointer finger and one on her pinky here. And then on this one, I think it's just on her pointer, which maybe we just barely see there. Okay, now we gotta do her wings. Brietta's got 6 wings, kind of like Enora. So there's 1, 2, 3, and one of those 6 wings is actually damaged. There's a big like chunk missing out of it. Which is why she's also got a rocket pack, which probably isn't going to be super clearly defined in this particular drawing, just because of the way she's positioned. Kind of, she needs to be almost be angled in a certain way to really show it off. But I don't like to lean into it too hard, because I feel like her as a character is more interesting than the rocket itself. But there we go. So there we've got Brietta all penciled up. Let's ink Brietta. Crack the elbow. Serious business, you gotta crack some elbows. I'm sorry if rotating the page is a little annoying sometimes as a viewer, but it's the best way to get some curves figured out sometimes. Bottom part of the nose just a tiny bit thicker. Apply that shadow. Same thing a little bit under that lower lip. Whenever you see a kind of exaggerated lip on one of my characters, you can probably thank Don Bluth for that. Most likely. And that's where I got that. Growing up with Land Before Time and Rockadoodle, Titan 80. She's got a little gold kind of clip thing on her goggles here. There's that little tiny glint on it. That's what the little black speck is. It's one of those things that if we really try to think it through, it probably doesn't make a lot of real world sense. But we also kind of just understand it. It's kind of the thing with cartooning. When you're drawing realism, they tell you to draw what you see and not what you know. But sometimes when you're doing something cartoony, it's almost the opposite. You gotta draw what you know more than what you see. but you will draw it better if you know it well to begin with. Hence practice and reference and stuff. So now we are doing the dreaded dreadlocks. I said before that every fairy has some pain in the ass element. With Ayla, it's the bullets across her chest. With Honora, it's the complex details of her helmet. With Brietta, it's the dreadlocks. With Kiani, it's all the little trinkets on her, the straps of her bags. And with Cinia, it's her really long, dark hair that needs to be kind of semi-rendered to look right. So many dreadlocks. For anybody who is interested in getting drawing lessons through the Kickstarter, we'll draw any character you want, is the idea. So we'll get you over Zoom for an hour or two, and I'll talk you through drawing whichever character you want, including ink. And I'll draw it digitally so you can kind of see it a bit more clearly, and I can kind of freely zoom in and stuff. You can draw however you want. And we'll kind of do it side by side, like I'll do it with you. But the goal will be to end up with a drawing that you're happy and proud of. Other than the dreadlocks, Brietta is actually maybe one of the simpler fairies, to be honest. So it's sort of like once you get through those, the rest is suddenly a lot quicker and easier. If you like watching me draw, by the way, you can also catch me on Twitch. Twitch.tv/outhousecartoons. I typically stream Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights around 7, but sometimes I'll start a little early if I'm doing something particularly complicated. And while the Kickstarter stuff is going on, I might do some extra ones as well. So keep an eye on my socials to see if I'm doing some extra ones. So that's Outhouse Cartoons on just about everything. I think we're almost done with these dreadlocks. I think I'll throw in an extra 2 or 3 maybe after this one, and then we can move on. Okay, we'll throw one in, kind of coming through there, wrapping around here, poking up here, curling down like that, and then coming back up around like this. And then we gotta do the other side of it, going back down, going around like that, kind of like that, and kind of like that. You can definitely see me doing another dreadlocked character in the future, because I do think it's a cool look. But it definitely won't be a multicolored Schumacher dreadlocks. I think for this one here, I think this is going to be our last one. And I think she's looking like she's got a pretty full, healthy head of hair there. There we go. Okay. Do her other earring. These gold beads. And let's move on. I usually like to ink the stuff that's kind of in the front first and then work my way back. So we're going to do these buckles on her chest, which will free up the straps underneath them for us to ink. And then that'll free up the rest of her torso. There's one buckle. And we'll do another one here. Excess bit of her straps, like that. And also, sorry if I remove the paper in such a way that you can't quite see. Hopefully, if I do, it's never for very long. shadow underneath her neck here. Or underneath her chin, rather. Shadow on her neck. A bit of the clavicle. Leather strap. And another strap. And another strap. Her belly button with the obligatory combat fairy belly button ring, of course. Like that for the midsection. Let's do. I didn't actually pencil these in, but her skirt is attached to like her belt kind of thing. With these like, kind of gold rings, I guess. We can connect her hips to the midriff. And we'll pull that out like that. I'm just going to fill that belt in entirely. If she was a bit bigger on the page, I'd maybe be inclined to leave this open for potential color. But not when it's this small. And speaking of which, also, anybody out there that likes the color, one of the backer rewards on the Kickstarter is a digital coloring book, which will include these drawings I've been doing on this, the tutorials, as well as other original drawings specifically for the coloring book. Which you can color digitally, or you can print off and color by whatever means you want. And one of the stretch goals for the Kickstarter is going to be a physical coloring book. But we'll need to raise a certain amount before that really becomes feasible. So if we hit our third stretch goal, then that'll get unlocked for people who are interested in getting their hands on a physical Combat Fairies coloring book, which will have stuff from all the previous coloring books from all the previous volumes. So it'll be, as well as the newest one. So it'll be like a full-on trilogy coloring book, basically. Okay, then we gotta do her dynamite strap here, which has some gold clips on it. Yeah, with our little glints there. Now when I penciled these sticks of dynamite, I just kind of treated it like a cylinder. I did a big scoop across, but now that I'm inking it, I'm adding these additional curves to kind of imply the separate sticks of dynamite. And the straps that hold them together is, they're both going to be solid black. So I'm drawing right through that right now just to help me keep the lines smooth and consistent, and then I'll go right through it on another direction. To fill in the straps. And we're going to toss a little bit of cast shadow underneath here as well, some of which is going to kind of bleed right into those straps. That's okay. There's one. And then there's another one. And there's the other one. We'll fill those in with black in a little bit. We'll do a little bit of hatching. Just a tiny bit. Applies a little bit of texture, even if it's not super specific. Sometimes a little bit extra. There too. And there too. And we're going to put some wicks poking out here. Let's see the extra one coming out too. Alright, we got the dynamite done. We can do this other leg now. We got her anklets. And while I'm inking the leg, the parts further away from our assumed light source, be a little bit darker, a little bit thicker. Inking around these rings and other big curves, sometimes a little intimidating. Just kind of bite the bullet and take your time. If anybody is drawn along with me on this one or any of these other videos, would love to see what you do. So you can send it directly to me, but I'd like it even more if you would just post it somewhere and tag me. Would also help with the getting some attention out there for the fairies. Oh, let's do a little bit of hatching on the skirt, and actually she's got kind of a camo pattern on the skirt, and normally when I'm drawing it for the comic I add that detail later. I add that digitally when I'm coloring, but because we're not coloring this one and we're treating this one as a bit of a draw along tutorial kind of deal, we're going to go ahead and actually draw in those shapes. So her camouflage almost looks like kind of cartoony paint splatter. It's kind of the idea. Kind of like that. Alright, got both the legs in. Just got her arms, her wings, and that rocket. And set everything after her dreadlocks tends to feel like a breeze. I'm going to try to keep this paper a little bit lower here so you can see all of it while I'm drawing. Sorry about that. We got her 3 bracelets around here as well. So there's 1. to draw in. Right. It's a bit of a forearm there that was kind of just peeking through. Just did it all in black. It'd be all in shadow probably anyway, especially with all that gold hanging off of it. And there we go. And then these gold band things. If anybody does know, if these have a name, drop that in the comments. Teach us all a lesson, myself included. Also, by the way, guys, if you're ever noticing posts from me promoting the Kickstarter, giving that a like actually helps quite a bit, because it shows the algorithm of whatever social media website you saw that on. It lets the algorithm know there's interest in that post. So it kind of gives it a little bit more love, essentially. It makes it easier for other people to see it, or more likely that they'll see it. So it helps a lot. And if you share it, of course, that helps even more, because then it also tells the algorithm there's interest in it. And the people that follow you will then see it. Not everybody can back a Kickstarter. Not everyone can afford to and whatever, so that's totally valid. I never guilt anybody into that. But everybody can click that like button. But I don't think it's always super clear how much that actually helps. People, I don't think, realize that until they actually start making this kind of stuff. And start fighting with those algorithms. So help me out, guys. Give this video a like. And same thing with any other posts you see that are promoting this campaign. It's the last one. Let's make it count. Alright. She's got a full body now, but we gotta give her the wings or she's not a fairy. So there's one with the stem and some insect kind of veins. And I always do like kind of make them all be speckled. Second wing. And her third wing here. There we go. Wing number 4 coming up, and this is the one that's got the big chunk missing out of it. Anytime you're doing anything like this, where it's like an incomplete thing, something's missing, I'd say sketch in the whole thing, and then define the missing part. And then you can erase that missing part if you want to. In my case, I've drawn Brietta enough that I trust myself to remember, as long as I've given myself the map of what part to ink and what part not to ink. There we go. There are her wings. So we're almost done here, guys. We just got to add her rocket. And then we'll have a few spot blacks to fill in. So the peak of her rocket. There's all these kind of striations on it, which I can thin out as it goes to show the light's maybe catching it a little bit. Now I'm going to be brave, I'm going to do this without a ruler, but it's not a terrible idea to do these types of details with a ruler. touching just to show that she's kind of casting a shadow on it herself. And a little squiggle kind of imply that highlight. And then we got the bottom part where the actual thruster is, and it's also got striations, kind of similar to the cap up at the top. So I'm just kind of all right, well, she's almost done, guys. Not quite, but almost. We're almost there. So we got this bit. Fill that area in over here too. Oops, that's up here. She's got this, like, it's almost like an exclamation point on the side of her rocket. It's often not super visible because of her wings and whatnot, but it is there. I'm gonna kind of fill in inside of her skirt. Like that, and then that might be it. I think we got a complete Brietta. There she is. Actually, we'll do a little bit of here too. Okay, so some shadow against where her body's touching it. Okay, well, we're gonna sign it, guys. Brietta is done. There we go. All right, so once again, guys, check out Combat Fairies on Kickstarter. Volume 3, the final volume of the trilogy. It goes live July 30th. So if you're watching this before that, check the pre-launch page, and you can sign up to get notified when it's live. Or if it's after July 30th, hopefully it's not too late. It'll be going for a month. So if it's August 2025, it's still not too late. So you can check that out, see what's there. Hit the like button, hit the share button, all that kind of stuff. Help me get the word out one way or another. Even if you can't back it yourself, I would appreciate the help just letting people hear about it. So thanks, everybody. I'll be back. Catch you next time. Have a good one.